Money usually solves one simple problem. If you can afford something, you can buy it. Except not always. Walk into an Hermès boutique with enough money to buy 5 Birkins, and there's no guarantee you'll walk out with even one. In fact, buying one often means waiting months, or even years, while hoping to eventually receive the opportunity to purchase it. Which raises a fascinating question. Why is buying a Birkin so difficult, even if you can afford it? And perhaps even more surprisingly, why are people willing to wait years for the chance to own it? To answer that, first, let's understand the company behind the Birkin, Hermès. Today, Hermès is one of the world's most valuable luxury brands. But it didn't begin as a fashion house. In 1837, Thierry Hermès opened a small workshop in Paris, crafting harnesses and saddles for horses. At a time when transportation depended on horse-drawn carriages, precision and durability weren't just desirable, they were essential. From the very beginning, Hermès built its reputation on one idea: exceptional craftsmanship. And as the world changed, so did Hermès. The company gradually expanded beyond saddlery into leather goods, silk scarves, ready-to-wear, jewelry, watches, and other luxury products. But despite entering entirely new categories, one thing remained remarkably consistent. Growth never came at the expense of craftsmanship. Generation after generation, Hermès continued to position itself as an artisan before a manufacturer. Then, in 1984, something unexpected happened. During a flight from Paris to London, Hermès CEO Jean-Louis Dumas found himself seated next to actress Jane Birkin. As the story goes, she mentioned how difficult it was to find a handbag that was both elegant and practical enough for everyday life. Inspired by that conversation, Dumas sketched what would eventually become the Birkin bag, a spacious leather handbag designed to combine functionality with timeless craftsmanship. Over the decades, the Birkin became far more than another luxury handbag. It evolved into one of the most recognizable and sought-after products in the luxury industry. Celebrities carried it. Collectors pursued it. Waiting times stretched from months to years. Yet, despite the extraordinary demand, Hermès never dramatically changed the way it built or distributed the bag. And that's where the mystery begins. When demand increases, brands increase production. Then why doesn't Hermès do the same? Why does it make the Birkin so difficult to get your hands on? And to understand this, we need to look at how Hermès has built its business for nearly 2 centuries. The first principle that guides Hermès is craftsmanship. In fact, Hermès rarely describes itself as a luxury company. Instead, it calls itself contemporary artisans since 1837. That's a subtle but revealing distinction. It tells us that before Hermès sees itself as a fashion house or even a global luxury brand, it sees itself as a house of artisans, where creation and craftsmanship come before commercial scale. That philosophy runs through almost every decision the company makes. Hermès is still an independent, family-controlled business, allowing it to think in generations rather than quarters. Instead of chasing rapid expansion or maximizing the number of products sold each year, its strategy revolves around 3 enduring principles: creation, craftsmanship, and an exclusive yet carefully balanced distribution network. Its mission isn't simply to produce luxury goods, but to create original objects, allowing the time necessary for their careful creation so they can accompany the needs and even the dreams of their customers. Excellence, rather than efficiency, becomes the metric that drives the business. Nowhere is that philosophy more visible than in the Birkin. Every Birkin is handcrafted by a single artisan from start to finish. But Hermès doesn't simply recruit experienced leatherworkers from the market. It builds them. Through institutions like the École Hermès des Savoir-Faire, artisans spend around 18 months learning techniques that have been passed down over generations before they're even qualified to work on the brand's leather goods. In other words, Hermès isn't just producing handbags, it is continuously producing craftsmanship itself. So why not simply train thousands more artisans? Because scaling craftsmanship isn't as simple as scaling a factory. Unlike many luxury brands that manufacture across multiple countries, Hermès has deliberately preserved an artisanal production model centered almost entirely in France. Rather than building enormous manufacturing facilities, it opens smaller, human-scale workshops across different regions, preserving local craftsmanship, supporting regional communities, and maintaining close oversight of quality. Growth still happens, but only at a pace that allows the culture, knowledge, and standards of the house to be passed on without compromise. The same philosophy continues long after the bag leaves the workshop. Nearly all Hermès sales still happen through its own boutiques, with every store offering a carefully curated assortment based on its local clientele, rather than a standardized global catalog. The objective isn't to place products on as many shelves as possible. It's to preserve a relationship-driven luxury experience, where every boutique reflects the character of both the brand and the market it serves. When you put all of these decisions together, a very different picture begins to emerge. Most companies optimize for efficiency, produce more, sell more, grow faster. Hermès optimizes for something entirely different: craftsmanship, heritage, reputation, the transmission of exceptional know-how from one generation to the next. Seen through that lens, we now understand Hermès didn't set out to make the Birkin difficult to buy. It set out to build a company where craftsmanship would never be compromised by growth. The difficulty wasn't the strategy, it was the consequence. And that consequence becomes visible the moment someone decides they want to buy a Birkin. Because production grows slowly while demand continues to rise, there are simply far more aspiring buyers than bags available. That means owning a Birkin is rarely as simple as walking into a boutique and making a purchase. Instead, many customers spend months, sometimes even years, building a relationship with the brand. They purchase other Hermès products, develop familiarity with a sales associate, and wait for the opportunity to receive a leather appointment. Even then, there is no guarantee they'll be offered the Birkin they're hoping for. In other words, the journey to owning a Birkin begins long before the purchase itself. And that's what makes the next question so fascinating. If the journey demands this much patience, uncertainty, and commitment, why don't customers simply walk away? After all, luxury consumers have no shortage of alternatives. They could walk into almost any other luxury boutique and leave with a handbag the very same day. Yet many Birkin buyers choose not to. Instead, they willingly return to the same boutique, sometimes for months, sometimes for years, patiently waiting for the opportunity to own a single bag. At first glance, that behavior seems irrational, because in almost every business, friction drives customers away. Longer queues, more uncertainty, more effort. These are problems companies spend billions trying to eliminate. Yet at Hermès, the exact opposite seems to happen. The more demanding the journey becomes, the more meaningful ownership appears to feel. Why? Perhaps because we've been thinking about ownership in the wrong way. In most purchases, money creates ownership. You pay, you receive the product, and instantly it becomes yours. But the Birkin doesn't follow that pattern. Here, ownership begins long before the transaction itself. Long before a customer walks out of the boutique carrying the bag, they've already invested something far more valuable than money: their time, their patience, their relationships, their understanding of the brand. The journey itself slowly transforms what ownership means. According to human psychology, people become more deeply committed to things that satisfy fundamental psychological needs. One of the most influential frameworks, called self-determination theory, suggests that 3 needs are particularly important: belonging, competence, and autonomy. And remarkably, The Birkin journey nurtures all three. It begins with belonging. Unlike a conventional retail transaction, the Hermès experience is built around long-term relationships. Customers gradually become familiar faces within a boutique, building trust with sales associates over time. Receiving the call doesn't simply feel like being offered a handbag. It feels like recognition, a signal that they are no longer just customers, but part of the Hermès world. Then comes competence. Customers gradually learn the language of the brand, its craftsmanship, its heritage, its philosophy, and even the rhythm of the buying journey itself. Every interaction feels like progress, making ownership feel less like something that was purchased and more like something that was achieved. Finally, there's autonomy. No one is forced to stay on this journey. Customers choose it because the values Hermès represents, craftsmanship, patience, and timeless quality, align with what they themselves value. The process becomes a conscious commitment rather than an impulsive purchase. Viewed individually, these experiences might seem insignificant, but together, they fundamentally change the psychology of ownership. By the time someone finally receives the opportunity to purchase a Birkin, the leather is still the same. The craftsmanship is still the same, but the meaning of the bag has changed completely. Because the customer isn't just walking away with a handbag, they're walking away with months or sometimes years of anticipation, relationships, recognition, achievement. The Birkin wasn't the only thing they earned. They earned the feeling of owning it. And perhaps that's the most remarkable thing Hermès has built. Not a handbag, but an ownership experience that becomes just as valuable as the product itself. Hermès has quietly redefined what customers are actually buying. For decades, businesses competed by building better products. Luxury brands did the same through superior craftsmanship, exceptional materials, and timeless design. Those qualities still matter, but Hermès suggests they may no longer be enough on their own. Because products can be copied, craftsmanship can eventually be matched. Even exclusivity can be manufactured. But it's far more difficult to replicate an ownership journey that has been built consistently over generations. In other words, Hermès's greatest competitive advantage isn't the Birkin itself. It's the system surrounding the Birkin. A system built on craftsmanship, long-term thinking, relationships, patience, and a philosophy that has remained remarkably consistent for nearly 2 centuries. That's what competitors struggle to imitate. And perhaps that's the bigger business lesson. The strongest luxury brands of the future won't simply compete through better products. They'll compete by creating ownership experiences that customers genuinely value. Because in the end, people rarely remember the transaction. They remember how the brand made them feel about owning it. So now coming back to our main question, why is buying a Birkin so difficult? Not because Hermès set out to make it difficult, but because it chose to build a business where craftsmanship mattered more than speed, where long-term brand equity mattered more than short-term growth, and where ownership began long before the purchase itself. The difficulty wasn't the strategy, it was the consequence. And perhaps that's why people don't just buy a Birkin, they earn the feeling of owning one. That's all for today's thought experiment. If this analysis gave you a new way of thinking, consider subscribing for more explorations into business, behavior, and psychology. Until next time, stay curious.